She had kept the secret to herself for 5 days. Tonight was the night she would finally share it. She had dressed with meticulous care, an elegant navy blue wrap dress that draped beautifully against her deep brown skin and closely hugged the slight, new curve of her stomach. Her natural afro puff was pulled up fiercely with a reddish-brown headband, a heavy gold necklace resting against her collarbone. She took a taxi to his private residence and typed the security code into the front entrance with the ease of a woman who belonged there. Because she was carrying his baby, and she actually believed that tonight was the night their real life together would begin. She was glowing as she walked down the quiet hallway. She heard his voice before she reached the sitting room. Low, clinical. The voice Han Tae-jun used to command his lieutenants, not the soft, devoted tone he saved for her. The woman is a complication, Sung Jae. Namsa stopped walking. Whatever she thinks this is, it isn't. She goes back to South Africa when the baby situation is handled. That's final. Namsa couldn't breathe. She couldn't hear anything past the sound of 9 beautiful months of her life being reduced to a situation by the man she loved. She pressed her back against the cool wall. One of her long, manicured hands dropped to her stomach, a fierce, sudden instinct to protect the life he had just dismissed as logistics. Her other hand flew to her mouth, pressing hard, her big earrings trembling as she trapped the sound trying to rip its way out of her throat. It wasn't a cry. It was the sound of a foundation cracking. She stood perfectly still in that hallway for 2 long minutes. She counted the seconds, because counting was the only thing keeping her from stepping into that room and letting him see the wreckage he had just caused. Then, she slowly lowered her hands. She stood up straight, turned around, and walked right back out the front doors. She rode in the back of a taxi through the Seoul night in absolute silence. And somewhere between his driveway and her hotel room, Namsa Masiko stopped being the woman who loved Han Tae-jun and became the architect who would flawlessly engineer the most devastating day of his life. She just didn't know it yet. She still thought this was only heartbreak. My queens, if you're new here, welcome to Afro-Korean Cartel Stories. Hit that subscribe button before you keep watching. Now, let's continue. My queens, before we can truly understand how she tore his world apart, we have to understand how she built her own. Namsa Masiko was not a woman who broke easily. Long before she ever stepped foot in Seoul, she grew up in Soweto, South Africa. There, she watched her mother handle impossible problems using nothing but a sharp mind and a calm smile. Her mother made survival look like pure grace. Young Namsa watched her closely and learned a vital lesson: staying calm is never a sign of weakness. In fact, total composure is the most devastating weapon a woman can carry. She took that weapon straight into the world of luxury events. It was a high-class, exclusive industry. At first, many people tried to treat her like she was invisible. They looked at her and expected her to stay quietly in the background. But Namsa refused to be ignored. Instead, she worked so hard and shone so brightly that every room she entered completely rearranged itself around her. She was a gifted architect of beautiful moments. She designed grand parties and events for the super-rich, and soon, her glowing reputation crossed oceans. That exact reputation is what brought her to South Korea. One of Seoul's most famous private firms hired her to design the biggest, most exclusive gala of the year. The plan was very simple: fly in, do the job for 6 weeks, and fly back home. But those 6 weeks quickly turned into 7 months. Namsa had one strict rule that kept her safe in a world full of billionaires and power players. She never mixed her personal life with her professional world. Ever. She built stunning, dreamlike spaces for her wealthy clients, but she never let them step inside her own heart. It was a perfect rule, and it had protected her for her entire career. But that rule was about to meet its very first exception. And that exception was going to change the course of her entire life. The gala was the most important night of her career in Seoul, and Namsa had planned every single detail perfectly. The music, the lights, the food, everything was exactly where it needed to be. She walked through the brightly lit room with her clipboard, completely focused on her job. She was not looking for love. She was not looking for anyone at all. But then, she looked up. Across the busy room, she saw him. Han Tae-jun. He was not trying to be loud or show off like the other wealthy men at the party. He was just standing there, watching her. He looked at her with a slow, careful focus. He was the kind of man who never watched anything casually. He only gave his attention to things that truly mattered to him. Namsa felt a sudden, deep spark in her chest. But she was a professional, so she quickly looked away first and went back to her work. Exactly 17 minutes later, he appeared right by her side. He did not try to act tough or use a fake, charming smile. He did not play any games. Instead, he spoke to her with a simple, quiet honesty that caught her completely off guard. "Everyone else in this room is pretending to be somewhere they want to be," he said softly, his dark eyes fixed on hers. "You're the only one who actually belongs here." Namsa gripped her clipboard a little tighter to steady her hands. "I am working," she told him firmly. He just nodded. "I know," he replied. He did not interrupt her again. He let her do her job. But he also did not leave. Han Tae-jun stayed at the gala until the very last guest walked out the door and the waiters cleared the final glass from the tables. He stayed just to be in the same room as her. When the long night was finally over, Namsa went back to her hotel. She told herself that his intense attention meant absolutely nothing. He was just an important guest, and she was just doing her job. She told herself to forget about him. But deep down, she knew that was a lie. For the next 3 days, she could not stop thinking about those 17 minutes. She kept counting the exact time it took for him to cross that room. She did not know it yet, but her strict rule against falling in love was already breaking. For the next 9 months, Han Tae-jun made feeling safe seem like the most natural thing in the world. He did not chase her with loud, flashy gifts or big public shows. Instead, he just stayed close and proved he was always paying attention. It started with small things. The second time they met, he had her exact coffee order waiting before she even sat down. A few weeks later, she casually mentioned that she had never seen the beautiful coast of Jeju Island. The very next weekend, he flew her there just so she could look at the ocean. Soon, spending the night at his quiet, private home stopped being a big event. She stayed not because he begged her to, but because leaving him at the end of the day simply started to feel wrong. He showed Namsa a side of himself that the rest of Seoul never got to see. He hid the scary, powerful boss away. Instead, she met the quiet man underneath the dark suits. This was the man who woke up early to read thick history books as the sun came up. He was the man who never, ever forgot to call his mother on Sunday afternoons. Once, they sat across from each other for 2 whole hours, just talking about absolutely nothing important. Yet, he looked more focused and present than most men do on the biggest days of their lives. Namsa fell in love with that man. Completely and with her whole heart. She finally let her guard down because she believed a beautiful truth. He had chosen to show her his real self because she was the only person in the entire world he actually trusted. My queens, the hardest part of the story is not that she was tricked. The absolute cruelest part is that she was not entirely wrong. He really did trust her. He really did love that peaceful life with her. But as Namsa was about to find out, a man can love you perfectly in private and still choose his dark world over you in the end. But while Namsa was falling in love in the light, Han Tae-jun was hiding a massive secret in the dark. Long before her plane ever landed in Seoul, his future was already written. For 3 years, the Han Syndicate had been carefully building a deal with the rival Choi family. This was an arranged marriage. It had absolutely nothing to do with romance or affection. It was a cold, calculated business plan designed to merge 2 powerful criminal empires into one unstoppable force. Everyone in Tae-jun's dark world knew about it. His top lieutenants knew what was coming. His mother had her own strong opinions about the match. And Chairman Choi, the dangerous leader of the rival family, was quickly running out of patience. Yet, for 4 long months, Tae-jun had been pushing the official announcement back. He kept making excuses to delay the final agreement. Everyone around him noticed his sudden hesitation. They all knew exactly why the boss was stalling, even if no one was brave enough to say Namsa's name out loud. Tae-jun sat at his heavy wooden desk late at night, staring at the alliance contract that waited with quiet patience. In those lonely moments, he lied to himself. He truly believed he was powerful enough to control everything. He told himself he could handle both situations at once. He thought he could marry the Choi daughter to secure his Mafia empire, while keeping his beautiful relationship with Namsa completely separate and safe. He thought the wall between his violent professional duties and his soft personal life was strong enough to hold. He told himself a great many things during those months. He watched Namsa smile and told himself he had enough time to manage the mess. He thought he was the undisputed master of his own fate. But my queens, he was completely and terribly wrong about all of it. And his lies were about to shatter the beautiful world they had built. It happened on a quiet Thursday morning. Namsa looked at the small plastic test in her bathroom, and her entire world tilted. She did not call Taejun immediately. For 5 whole days, she kept the massive secret completely to herself. She needed time to let the shock fade and let the truth settle in her heart. Deep down, beneath the sudden fear of the unknown, her choice was absolutely clear. She wanted this child. More than that, she wanted a real, open life with the man who had shown her his soul. On the 5th night, she finally felt ready. She dressed carefully, feeling a flutter of nervous joy. She took a taxi through the bright city streets. When she reached his private home, she punched the security numbers into the front gate. She did it easily and naturally, like a woman stepping into her own safe future. But my queens, we already know the heartbreak that was waiting for her inside. The warm future she imagined was destroyed by a few cold words spoken through a cracked door. A complication. A situation. Standing in that hallway, listening to him discuss her life like a business problem, the Namsa who believed in his promises shattered. Yet, she did not scream. She did not burst into the room to demand an explanation. She held her silence, turned her back on the lie, and walked away. The walk back down the driveway felt like moving through a different universe. The night air was exactly the same, but she was completely changed. She climbed into the back of a taxi and stared out the dark window. She was no longer the soft, trusting woman who loved Han Tae-jun. Somewhere between his heavy front doors and the cold Seoul pavement, a new version of Namsa Masiko woke up. This new woman was sharp, fiercely protective, and utterly unbreakable. If he thought she was just a temporary distraction to be pushed aside, he was going to learn a very painful lesson. She was going to take the broken pieces of her trust and use them to build his perfect ruin. He had called her baby a situation to be handled. So, she decided she would handle him. And she would make sure he understood exactly what he threw away on the most important day of his calculated life. She did not go back to her apartment. Instead, Namsa checked into a quiet hotel across the city. She knew Han Tae-jun's men might look for her, and she absolutely refused to cry anywhere he could find her. For 2 straight days, she stayed locked inside that room. She ordered room service, but left the plates completely untouched on the desk. When the sun went down, she sat alone in the dark. She placed one hand gently over her stomach. A fierce, powerful instinct to protect her baby had already arrived, even before she fully knew what to do with it. She cried for the beautiful future she thought she had, and she cried for the sweet man who never really existed. But she did not perform her pain for an audience, and she promised herself she would never describe these tears to anyone. Then came the 3rd morning. Namsa woke up, and the heavy sadness was gone. It was replaced by a cold, clear-eyed calm. She was a woman who had survived impossible things before. She knew that simply surviving was only the very first step. She stood up, took a long shower, made a cup of hot tea, and sat down at the small table with her laptop and her phone. First, she called her sister back home in Johannesburg. She did not explain the heartbreak. She just asked for one thing, the name of the attorney her sister had mentioned 3 years ago. This lawyer was a tough international specialist. She was a woman who fought legal battles across borders for women facing exactly this kind of crisis. Next, Namsa opened her phone and clicked into her saved folders. As she scrolled, she realized something incredible. Without even meaning to, She had quietly preserved the last 9 months of their entire relationship. Every text message, every voice note. Then, she found the most important piece of all. It was a recorded phone call from a few weeks ago, back when they had lovingly talked about what their future might look like. His deep voice played clearly through the speaker. "Whatever you need," Taejun had said, "this child will not want for anything. I promise you that." Namsa stared at the glowing screen for a very long time. He had made a clear promise to his child, and then he had turned around and called that same child a situation. Very carefully, she saved that audio file in 3 separate, secure places. The tears were officially done. As she looked at the perfect trail of evidence sitting on her screen, Namsa finally began to understand the masterpiece she was about to build. 6 weeks after Namsa walked away from Seoul, her phone rang. She was safely back in South Africa when the call came in from Han Taejun's office. It was his personal assistant. The woman spoke in a very calm, polite voice, delivering the message as if it were completely normal. Han Taejun was getting married. It was going to be the biggest, most important private wedding Seoul had seen in 10 years. And he had requested Namsa Masiko by name to design the entire event. The assistant's careful, professional tone told Namsa everything. It proved that Taejun had hidden their relationship from his own team. He had framed this as just another simple business deal. Namsa did not give her answer right away. She sat with the massive offer for exactly 1 full day. She knew exactly what the Mafia boss was trying to do. He wanted her close by so he could watch her. He wanted the chance to manage her and easily control the secret of her pregnancy. Perhaps, in his own twisted mind, he even believed that giving her a huge, high-paying job was a form of kindness. The next morning, she called his office and accepted the job. My queens, she did not say yes because she wanted his money or his pity. She accepted because she saw the perfect opportunity. This contract gave her 6 full months of planning. Most importantly, it gave her complete, open access to the most important day of his life. He had just handed her the keys to his own kingdom. It was the absolute perfect cover for the legal trap she and her lawyer had already started building. Han Taejun wanted the best event architect in the world. He wanted a perfect show to seal his powerful Mafia alliance. Namsa decided she would give him exactly what he asked for. She was going to design the most breathtaking, beautiful wedding Seoul had ever seen. But hidden quietly inside the beautiful flowers and the soft music, she would also design its total destruction. On a bright Monday morning, she sat down at her desk and began to build both. For the next 6 months, Namsa worked as a master builder, creating 2 very different blueprints. On one side, she built the wedding. She picked the grandest venue in Seoul. She chose the most beautiful flowers and planned the perfect lighting to make every single moment look like a royal dream. She was careful, brilliant, and completely professional. Han Taejun attended the planning meetings himself. When he saw her calm smile, he told himself a comforting lie. He thought her polite behavior meant she had finally accepted the breakup. He thought it was a sign of closure. He could not read her true feelings because she had locked them far away. In every meeting, she was warm and precise, but she never gave him a single personal piece of herself to hold on to. On the other side, she built the trap. This blueprint was made of legal papers and hidden files. Her clever attorney worked quietly across 3 different countries to put the pieces together. They gathered the saved text messages, the timeline of their relationship, and the recorded phone call where he proudly promised to care for their baby. Namsa was not building a criminal case to send him to prison. She was building something much sharper. It was a clear, undeniable record. It was hard proof that Han Taejun had treated his own child like a simple business problem to be erased. If this heavy proof landed in front of the right people at the exact right moment, the powerful Mafia alliance between his family and the rival Choi family would be completely ruined. The marriage deal would fall apart. Namsa did not rush. She chose her targets very carefully. The final, devastating file would be sent to exactly 4 specific people. Next, she planned the timing of the delivery. She scheduled the drop with the exact same focus and care she used to time the string quartet for the bride's grand entrance. Everything had to happen at the perfect second, and Namsa was ready. The morning of the ceremony was breathtaking. Seoul's most powerful people sat in perfectly straight rows. The Han and Choi families sat across from each other, completely quiet and still. They looked like two giant kingdoms ready to merge their dark powers. Namsa moved smoothly through the grand room. She fixed a flower here and adjusted a bright light there. Like any great builder on opening day, she was everywhere, but she remained completely invisible. The clock ticked down. At exactly 47 minutes before the music was supposed to start, 4 thick envelopes were delivered by special messengers. One went to Chairman Choi. One went to the wedding officiant. One went to Han Taejun's mother. The last one went to a famous journalist who had spent 6 long years trying to expose the Han family's hidden secrets. The wedding music never played. The grand ceremony did not just start late, it simply did not begin at all. Confused whispers quickly turned into angry shouts. The powerful alliance shattered in minutes. As a heavy, shocked silence finally fell over the beautiful room, Han Taejun stood frozen at the altar. Looking at the empty aisle, he finally understood the terrible truth. The most dangerous person involved in his wedding had never been a rival boss or a guest. It was the architect. High above the clouds, Namsa sat comfortably in her airplane seat. Her phone screen lit up brightly. Taejun's name flashed again and again. She was 30,000 feet in the air, flying far away from the wreckage she had designed. Namsa placed one hand gently on her stomach and closed her eyes. She did not answer. She was already safely back home in South Africa when Taejun finally found the 5th envelope. She had left it just for him, resting quietly on his private desk. It was unsealed and deeply personal. Inside was a single piece of heavy paper with one short line written in her neat handwriting. You told me this child was a situation to be handled. I handled it. N. He stared at the paper as his entire world crashed down around him. But my queens, the real question still hangs in the air. Did she leave anything else hidden inside that envelope? A phone number? A small possibility? Whether she locked him out forever or left the door just a tiny bit open, well, that is exactly what the second part of this story will answer. And that's a wrap on today's story. If this one pulled at something in your chest, then let us know in the comments. Tell us your favorite moment and where you're watching from. And if you're new here, welcome. Subscribe so you never miss a story. Like this video so more people find it. We'll see you in the next one. Please support by subscribing and commenting what you enjoyed about the story and where you're watching from.